I'd like to welcome everyone to the August 13th, 2024 Midtown Redevelopment Board meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Davita Bonner,
Present.
Ms. Renee Richardson,
Present.
Ms. Kathy Washington,
Present.
Ms. Joan Shepard,
Present.
Ms. Tangela Hardy, Mr. Lynn Thompson, Pastor Eddie Lake.
Present.
Now we'll have the invocation by Pastor Eddie Lake, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this awesome day. We thank you for this privilege to gather together as the Midtown Redevelopment Board. We thank you that as a city we have come together and recognized the strength that we have by unifying the public and the private sector. We thank you, oh God, for this privilege to help lead and guide and direct the city and the community together to higher heights and deeper depths to make our community better. We pray, God, that you would give us insight, wisdom, and witty inventions to execute righteousness and justice for all, that we may all benefit and every generation shall be blessed. And we thank you in Jesus' name for that blessing. And we all said together, amen.
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 Pledge of Allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving forward to number 5, has everyone had an opportunity to view the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda for, what is this? This is for June, I'm sorry, for July. July 9th, 2024.
Eddie Lake move the approval of the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like signs. Motion carries for the approval of the agenda. Moving along with the approval of the minutes, has everybody had an opportunity to view the minutes from July 2020? I'm sorry.
July 9th.
Yes, I got a second, Ms. Jones seconded, yes. The minutes from July 9th, 2024. Can I have a motion for the approval?
I still make a motion for approval of the minutes for July 9.
Eddie Lake, second the motion.
Minor correction, I believe
Yes.
it was intended to be the minutes for June 9th.
June.
June
9.
or July?
No, it says July 9.
Correct, but the meeting, the minutes are from the June meeting.
June meeting. Okay. Correction for the June 2024 meeting. All right. All in favor for the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed or any opposed like sign? It's July?
It is July.
July 9th?
I apologize.
Okay,
It's okay.
right. I was kind of looking for the ones that did happen. That's okay.
What's June?
It's okay.
I was like, I don't see those.
It's okay. Okay. Moving on to line 7. Ms. Tolliver?
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Just for the record, if we could just acknowledge the attendance of Ms. Hardy and Mr. Thompson. They came in during the approval, for the record.
Yes.
All right, I'm Michelle Tolliver, the project manager for Midtown, and I'm presenting item 7, the Plan Development, Redevelopment, Rezoning for Valencia Square Plan District, DEV 2023-065, Quasi-Judicial Hearing. This is a request by Robert Merrill of Cobb Cole on behalf of Framework Group, the developer. And I know on your staff report it said property owner, and that was just a mistake, mainly because this property is not owned by the developer yet. It will transfer at the time of pulling the building permit. So they're the developer, and this is to approve a rezoning of 3.25 plus or minus acres of land located at 544 Orange Avenue from Redevelopment Midtown Neighborhood Transition mixed use, RDM5 zoning district to plan development, redevelopment, to allow for development of a mixed-income, multifamily housing complex project with 62 residential units and associated site improvements. The next slide shows the site location, which is at the corner of Orange Avenue and Division Street. The next slide is an aerial of the current conditions. It currently has parking, paved parking, and a retention pond, but basically it is an undeveloped site. The next slide is the current land use, which is commercial transitional. The next slide shows the current zoning and the proposed zoning. Our current zoning is the RDM5, Redevelopment Midtown Neighborhood Transition Mixed Use. And the proposed zoning is the planned development redevelopment. All right, bear with me on the history because before we get to the rezoning, there was a lot of things that happened. So hold on and listen. And it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. The project was previously used by the city's Public Works Department as a storage yard with parking. The Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA, and the Commission approved an acquisition, redevelopment, and economic development grant agreement with Framework LLC on November 2nd, 2022. That was under resolution number 2022-13, and it was for 62 multifamily units to be developed on this property. In exchange for 24 affordable rental units, Framework will acquire the property at no cost. Also, there will be a reimbursement of 70% of the ad valorem tax increment for 10 years, not to exceed $655,000. The next slide is where Framework has executed 2 extensions to that agreement. The first extension was to expand the inspection period of the property for 30 days. The second extension was to extend the closing period to transfer ownership from the property, and that extension was for 90 days. This allowed Framework additional time to confirm costs associated with an off-site construction of the compensatory storage area for the site based on the locations provided by the city's Public Works Department. And what I should have done was given you an image of where the location is. And I don't think.
We can just imagine it.
So imagine with me. At the corner of Division Street and Orange Avenue, if you look south, there's a street that goes south. That's Division Street. In that area, at the end of that, it's we're going to call it a cul-de-sac, okay? It's a dead end. Mm-hmm. It dead ends. At the end of that dead end is where there are going to be 2 areas for collecting stormwater. Okay, so that's what the second extension was. And most recently, Framework has executed or actually requested, and it was approved. I'm messing up throw myself off by imagining. Okay. The First Amendment to the agreement was approved by the CRA and the City Commission on August 8th, 2024. That's right, last week. The First Amendment was approved. The extension addressed the following. Framework will do a submittal of their site plan application by September 1st. The building permit application will be submitted by January 1st of 2025. And we should all clap. And we're clapping because we will be breaking ground soon on a project. That's what I'm clapping about. Okay, the extension addressed the following. I said that already. See, I'm excited. Section 11 of the agreement addressed the city making available 3 parcels for Framework to construct the off-site compensatory stormwater storage, and the city will maintain the site after construction. The First Amendment also addressed Section 14, which added a one-time 305-day extension that began July 31st, 2024, which may be extended for up to 2 90-day periods. And the last item is section 15C. The site plan application fee was added to be waived. Now for the project description. This is the applicant's request to rezone 3.25 plus or minus acres of land located at 544 Orange Avenue from Redevelopment Midtown Neighborhood Transition Mixed Use, RDM5, zoning district to plan development, PDRD, to allow for development of a mixed-income multifamily housing complex project with 62 residential units and associated site improvements. This next slide is an image of the overall plan for the property. And the next slide is a series of exterior elevations. This is the front, rear, left, and right elevations. And the next slide is the, can't read that, but it must say something. The front elevation, the right elevation, the rear elevation, and the left elevation. And then this last slide shows the front elevation, and these are building types for the property. Okay, the next slide is the modifications and waivers that are being requested under the development standards, under the Land Development Code, Section 4.2.c, multifamily residential 12, which is a comparable zoning district to the proposed residential density. Proposed here, the city's Land Development Code states that minimal spacing between dwellings in a multifamily complex shall be 40 feet front to front, front to rear, or front to side, and 25 feet side to side. The applicant is requesting a modification to provide a uniform building space of 30 feet for the proposed project. The spacing will ensure adequate spacing between structures that will allow development of the residential density contemplated by the city, CRA, and the applicant. The off-street parking, Section 6.2 of the Land Development Code does not contemplate the provision of compact spaces outside of the parking garage or parking lot of a principal use. The applicant is requesting the ability to provide a maximum of 20% of the parking spaces within the site to be utilized for compact spaces. The applicant is also requesting a modification to allow the use of tandem spaces within the development, so long as such spaces are dedicated to the same unit. The next slide is the signage. The table in section 6.10.K.6.A of the Land Development Code sets forth signage requirements for the current zoning with a maximum height of 8 feet and a maximum sign size area, of 60 square feet. And a standard multifamily complex is permitted a combined sign area of 64 square feet with planning board authorization. The applicant is requesting a uniform sign program of 2 monument signs limited to a maximum combined sign area of 20 square feet with a maximum height of 20 feet. The proposed sign schedule will ensure adequate visibility and a sense of arrival for the proposed development. It will aid in resident and visitor navigation and create an aesthetically pleasing entry to the site. The recommendation is to, provided all Land Development Code modifications are accepted, staff recommends approval to rezone 3.25 plus or minus acres of land located at 544 Orange Avenue from Redevelopment Midtown Neighborhood Transition Mixed Use, RDM5, to plan development, redevelopment, to allow for development of mixed income multifamily housing complex with 62 units and associated site improvements. A majority vote by the Midtown Redevelopment Board members present and voting is required to recommend approval to the Planning Board and the City Commission. This item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Planning Board August 25th, which is soon. And the City Commission, first reading on October 2nd, and the second reading, public hearing on October 16th. That concludes my report to you. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back to the waivers screen, please?
Yep.
Okay, the only concern I have, I've got just two comments to make, is that they're requesting 2 signs to be a total of, here we go, 200 square foot with the maximum height of 20 inches as opposed to 60 square feet, maximum of 8 foot. Is that correct?
Yes.
So they want,
And the Jessica Gow and Rob can give the details as to why that's required. And I don't know enough about the property and the proposed development to give you more information on that.
okay. My only other point is I'm considering, I'm curious about landscaping. Are there going to be any landscaping improvements?
Absolutely, yes. And you all will see that when we present the site plan for this project. That'll come back to you. This is just to rezone it from what it is to what they want. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, for the record, Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 1 Daytona Boulevard. Michelle does a great job. I mean, combining the professionalism with the humor and having a good time with her job, that's tough to do. And she does a great job. So, and she's given you a great deal of detail, way more than I would have provided you, and we're happy to answer questions, and I'll talk to you about the sign in a second. I wanted to say a little bit about who's doing this. Of course, the city's partnered with the Framework Group, but if you guys aren't familiar with the Framework Group, they're developing the 400 Beach Street project. Let me stop. You guys got some new folks. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Lynn, it's been a long time since I've seen you, man. And thank you guys, because this is a volunteer thing. And unfortunately, I'm the only reason why you're here tonight, it sounds like, because I'm the only agenda item. I think I've had a few of those in the last handful of months. So sorry about that, but thank you for doing it, and it's much appreciated. Back to what I was saying. I'm really privileged. I feel happy to be here for Framework Group because Philip Smith is just a great guy. He is passionate about housing. And when I say housing, it's everything from the luxury apartments that are going to be built that are under construction right now, the 400 Beach Street project, which is next to the new Brown & Brown headquarters, down through the spectrum. And he does things like he's got a nonprofit that does affordable housing, that does homeless housing, that he had, I think, a project in Tampa where they did ladies who had left being incarcerated couldn't get apartments. He had a specialty product for them. So just across the board, the guy basically redid downtown Tampa in the last 15 years. He got partnered with the mayor, and they came up with a lot of ways to do creative incentives and such, and it changed the whole downtown Tampa. So when he showed up here, we all went, oh, great, you like Daytona Beach. And so you see 400 Beach Street happen, and what happened is as soon as he got here and bought that land, he started asking us, well, how can I do an affordable project? And what happens here is there's kind of a synergy. So all the subcontractors that are building that luxury product are here to do that. At the same time, they come right around the corner, 3 blocks around the corner, and they build the affordable product. So he's got that partnership with those folks that are building the luxury product to do the affordable at the same time. So that's what's happening here. And the city had the old utility construction yard that had been there for years and years. And, we've been talking about affordable housing. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's government, funded stuff. There's private sector stuff. And then there's, partnerships. And so what's happening here is there's a partnership. And so we've already forged that and agreed to that. And Michelle went through all the iterations of it. And now we're going to build the project. And I think it's got a mixture of types of housings and affordability. And I can get into the details about that. One of the tools in the toolbox, and my partner Jessica Gow is by far more of an expert in affordable housing options than I am. But one of the tools in the toolbox is creativity and land development regulations. So to the extent that they do different signage and some of the other products that they've done, and this is what they wanted, and it's different than what the cookie cutter is for this one, there's some different signage. This is totally based on what they want from a market standpoint. So, if you wanted something different, we would certainly take that into consideration. But having that kind of flexibility with these waivers, which to me are pretty nominal, is part of how you incentivize somebody to do the affordable piece, and it happens very frequently like that. So I can't tell you exactly why, other than that's their business reason for doing it. I think it's, like Michelle explained, it's going to be aesthetically pleasing, and it's going to be useful in terms of knowing how to get there and how to navigate it and stuff like that. So that's really the reason. Probably already said too much, but I'm here to answer any questions, and Miss Jessica can help as well if you have questions I can't answer. Yes, ma'am.
I have 3 questions. You spoke on the luxury of housing that you guys are building over the
400 Beach Street.
400 Beach Street. As far as the luxury, for the affordable housing that you're putting together here, what does affordable look like price-wise in terms of?
Okay, so this is a mixture of market rate and 62 of which total, 24 of which are affordable, and there's 2 levels, a dozen each, of affordability, and the percentages are. Sorry, she's the numbers lady.
My foot's asleep, so I'm limping. Jessica Gao, Cobb Cole from Daytona Boulevard. The 24 units are broken into 2 pockets of 12. So one is in the low income threshold, which is 60% or below of the area median income. And then the second is moderate, which we call workforce, which is up to the 120%. And so it's supposed to get housing kind of across the spectrum. We can't give you number values just yet because it's based on the applicant when they come in. The area median income is based on Daytona, DeBerry, DeLand, Deltona, all of our areas overall. So it's like 60,000. You do the calculation by then, and then you break it down into bedrooms. And so I can't give you the exact number, but it will be based on the HUD guidelines for those percentages.
Okay, so I know a lot of people are, with the price hike in a lot of rent throughout the country right now, and the price of living gone up extremely high. Is that something you guys are considering as far as your standard of when you consider the pricing of your apartments?
So yes, absolutely. So what Jessica was just outlining, and she said she talks so fast I can't keep with it sometimes, but there's different gradients. So one of them will be market rate. It's whatever the market bears, and then the other will be what they call workforce, which is up to 120% of the median for Volusia County or Daytona. Overall, and then. All right, it's a percent, and it's mandated. So those benchmarks are required of us. So there's no question about it. You have to offer the product of the dozen of this type and the dozen of that type, and you can't sell for any more than that. That's what it comes down to.
And
so it's artificially limited that way, and that's how it's being incentivized.
And just as an example, if you take and these numbers are a year or so old, so bear with me. If you take the area median income, which is set up by HUD, the federal government, the affordable range, which is the low income, 60% or below, that family is making 60% of what everyone else in the area does. And then you take the 30% of that number, it gets you to about $800 that they can pay in rent to not be cost burdened or paying more than 30% of their income. And so that is a sample threshold. If you guys know the other market rates in the area, they're not at 800, so that would be below. Yeah.
But I think the critical point is we are limiting ourselves to that for 15 years. Is that correct?
10 years.
10 years. 10 years.
Well, because I know a couple of years ago we had the 2 major storms come through, and that displaced a lot of families to where the city had to take responsibility to, make sure that the safety and the housing of those families was sufficient. Will families that's maybe possibly still be that's displaced be considered first in your low income housing, or how would that work? How will it be first come, first served basis, or will you take people that's already in low income housing that may want to transition into there first? How will that?
So
look
I
like?
know that they have a program that they've done this in a lot of places. They have a program for how they intake people and such, but do you know if there's any actual preference?
It depends on the project. I would say that what we typically see in affordable housing development in Daytona is that when they are ready for placement, they coordinate with the Daytona Beach Housing Authority on their kind of needs and priority list to match, the needs of a single mother with 4 kids may want to look at a home ownership program instead, so they can help kind of shift to see who's looking for an apartment rental in that area for work and the transportation needs versus what everyone else needs. So I would say the best way to do it, and what we suggest to our client, is partnering with that housing authority who's kind of the clearinghouse for those.
Okay. My last question. This developer, is he planning any other apartment buildings in Daytona other than the 2 sites that you guys spoke of already?
Not at this point. They did do the
Napier
the
on
Napier
Williamson.
project on Williamson, which is, I think, still got some construction going on in the last
Phase
phase.
2 construction is ongoing. Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, it's nice. It's well done.
I have some questions. Okay, so 24 apartments are gonna be slotted for affordable housing. And you're saying that they would have to go through or partner with the housing authority in order to see about qualifying for that or those apartments?
That's what my expert says.
All right, now, so the figures that she gave, that was figures from last year as far as how to kind of gauge where you're going to be at as far as affordable.
Right.
So what are the figures? How long is this project going to take? How long do they anticipate the project taking before it's completed? And then people can figure out how to apply for, or, maybe try to get into this
Good question.
apartment.
So I think what the owner told me, or the developer told me, was 12 to 16 months is about the construction time once everything's approved. We still have to get, as mentioned earlier, we have to get a site plan approved. So this is just the zoning piece. Once we get through that site plan approved and building permits, 12 to 16 months it looks like before we actually are under construction. Finished with construction and able to rent units. And at that time, that's when you would be valuing it on the basis of the current situation.
Okay, so 38 apartments will be slotted for full market rate.
Yes,
And then only the 24 would be for affordable housing.
correct.
And they're not looking to do an actual whole unit or a whole project that is affordable. The Napier is luxury.
Luxury.
Everything that is currently being built is luxury. Do they have an opportunity? Would they consider even trying to do an actual apartment, partnering with the housing authority, like for real? Partnering with the housing authority to get rid of the apartments that's already affordable and putting something back there? If he's willing to do this, then is it possible for him to even consider? That could be.
So he may do another one. He tends to stay in the community and do other projects. This one is already, that's the way it's going to be done. The city commission's already approved it in that formula. Could there be another one that is on a different basis? Possibly, sure. Like I said, he is committed to housing for everybody. He'll tell you. I wish he were here to say that, but I've heard him talk about it to a lot of people locally here as well. He's inspiring. He's the guy that wants to get things done for people and make sure everybody has a place to live. So.
Okay. Any more questions?
I'm the one. I'm just curious as to what is the potential breakdown of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3 bedrooms for this complex?
Do we have the mix? Yeah, it's not done yet. Well, you guys are going to get to see the site plan, I think. Does it come back? Redevelopment? Yeah. So you guys will see it.
Got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
And just to let you know, it's a yes vote on the rezoning, so that's not the issue.
Thank you.
Couple questions in regard to the entire makeup and the work going forward. Now, I know the city has offered 3 additional lots for the stormwater concerns, and I know the property will be elevated. Have you given any additional consideration for the neighbors because it's a low-lying area and we know we have flooding issues?
Absolutely. So that's exactly what Michelle was talking about. So there are two. I'm going to try to pretend like I'm an engineer for a second. There's sort of two components to the stormwater management and the flood prevention that are happening here. One is stormwater prevention, which retention, which actually allows the place for the water to accumulate and then percolate into the soil and be attenuate into the environment so it's clean. Then there's the flood. When you fill an area and you create the flood level to go somewhere else, you have to have a place for it. That is compensating storage. And so you dig a whole nother pond for that flood water to go to, and that's what we're doing. So the city has the property Michelle was talking about that she imagined for you, and then we're going to dig the hole for them. So that's kind of how that's going to happen. So in partnership, we're going to make sure there's a place for the flood waters to go and the stormwater to attenuate into the natural environment.
Okay.
Sort of both things.
So
Is
there's
that close enough?
So there's a net benefit for addressing future flooding
Correct.
issues and
For
concerns.
the entire, the whole basin has issues. We know that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. The second question is in regards to local subs. Will all the subs be local? That work on
I
this
think it's a
project?
mix of local folks. They do try to get local, and so it probably is a mix. But those same folks are going to go from the luxury apartments to the
Okay,
affordable around the corner while they're here.
very good, very
Creates an
good.
efficiency.
Well, we commend you for the efforts and the vision for the project, so it's well needed. And two last questions was one in regards to the community neighborhood meeting that was, that you had. I see you had pretty good, decent support. A few good
Absolutely.
questions from
Yep.
the community members. Were you well received? Was the project well
Absolutely.
received overall?
Yeah, we answered everybody's questions. Everybody went away happy, I think.
Very good.
Yep.
And this is the last question, and this is in regards to the 10-year TIF funds that will be, what is that total over that 10-year period?
Well, it depends, right?
It does depend on the formulation of the value, but there's a maximum recovery of 665,000.
That's the maximum.
That's the
Correct.
max.
That was the
That's the
maximum.
cap,
Okay,
yep.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
But it depends on the value.
It could be less, can't be more.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I can't take credit. The folks that are doing this aren't here today, but
Right.
yeah, I'm as you can tell, I'm enthusiastic about it, and I'm really very much in support of what they're doing.
Yeah, and there is one last question. Are we aware of any additional housing vouchers? I think Ms. Hardy was touching on this particular topic. Do we know how many housing vouchers there are for people who need to be moved, who were displaced from the previous?
I don't know the answer to that.
Just out of curiosity, okay.
No, but I can get that number from the Housing Authority.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they've temporarily placed all of their residents who were displaced from Caroline Village. That was the most impactful location. They've relocated them. Some of them ended up at the Clyde Morris Landing because they were in hotel rooms. But the number of vouchers open, I don't have that number.
Okay. Well, I got one more question just before you miss time. Just coming as we're talking about going back to the stormwater issues and the overall landscape of the low-lying areas that flood mostly in here. And this is a general question. For all of the new development that's being done, we understand every property is being elevated to try to prevent flooding on that site. But have we done studies on what happens to the other lying areas? And I know you're addressing this with additional, but just in totality, what is the overall negative impact? Because the water is going to be moving and shifting in various ways as the area floods. And I'm learning this as I'm learning the city of Daytona Beach.
Yeah, so, yeah, what I said is really all I can say about this particular piece, but I do know that, a lot of the development that happened in Midtown happened before all of the rules were in place about stormwater management. So, a lot of older properties over there, and I think probably if you want to get up to speed, the best way to do it, maybe you guys can help, is the city commission had a presentation, was it last week or the week before, from the the folks from the Corps of Engineers, or last month. And so you could listen to the tapes, I think, on that, and they're the experts. And I think they've done a complete survey of the Midtown area and the basin, and they've got some solutions. So
Completed.
it'd be worth listening to that, I think.
It's online, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
Well, I know, asking for a waiver of off-site parking under section 6.2. Staff, I just wanted to raise an issue with staff. What about on-site parking? We got adequate, that's adequate? We don't foresee any issues with parking, because I do know there's no parking allowed at this point on Orange Avenue either, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the tandem solution is the only solution and option because you're landlocked, and we're okay with that. Yep.
Okay.
And Lynn, for what it's worth, before we get to you guys, we've gone through a pretty rigorous process with not just these folks, but the whole, group in the room over there, the engineers and the utilities people and all them. So we came with a recommendation of approval for that, from that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
So we are moving forward with our recommendation for this project to move forward, going to the planning board and the city commission, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there public comment or?
All right, any public comments?
I was going to hold it to the end, but this is probably the opportune time. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. I'm in support of the project. I think it's great. I think it'd be great for the area to have something like this built in the area. But I'm stumped at one particular point, as I always ask myself, is why? Why not build a luxury apartment complex in Midtown? Why not build the same type of apartment complex that they have on Beach Street in that area that's there? There's 3 census tracts, 820, 819, and 821. If you look at where the luxury is, because someone said to me, well, Pierre, you don't want to build that's there in the Midtown area because we based upon the income levels that are in that area. That's how affordable housing is, right? It's 30% of the median income that's in that area. The median income that's in that area is roughly $18,000 in that area. It's considered a low-income area. That's what the census tract says, right? So that's why they built it there. But 820, which is a census tract that's over there, when you read the opportunity zones that's right here,
Oh, my goodness.
you know what it says? Census tract 820 is a low-income area. That's what it says. So they said they're going to build a luxury apartment over there, but they're going to build an affordable apartment here based upon the income levels that's here. But the census tracts say that 820 is a low-income area. So if they're basing that on the census tracts, 820, 819, and 821 that's here, then the better question is, why couldn't they build luxury apartments in Midtown? I mean, at some level, somebody is building Midtown for last year. And I believe we have to get to a concept of saying that we're building Midtown for tomorrow.
Future.
Now, I understand it's 10 years right there, and I know they got it locked in place. So after that's 10 years, let's think 11 years from now. So let's say 11 years from now, we're hoping that that particular group that's here, that decides they're going to build property in Midtown, as the kids would say, we want to level up. We'd like for Midtown to be leveled up. Why do I say that? I'll tell you why I say that, and I'll be quick. Commercial development is an extremely important. I just got a study recently from Ann Ruby. She sent me, there's talking about building that's here, building the areas that's in an area. You need commercial development. If you have the median income of a particular person that's roughly $45,000 a year, that's median money that they can, disposable income, I should say, that they can spend in grocery stores and shops and all of that. If you only put a particular median level that's poverty in that area, their disposable income is almost zero. So if we wonder on the long term, how do the stores get shut down? Because there's no customers. There are no customers that have the disposable income to buy a pizza, buy CD, I almost dated myself when I said that one. However, they can buy goods and services, suits in that area. So those businesses are there, what happens? They implode on themselves. Why? Because they do not have customers. But if you build a luxury apartment, and this is, trust me, when I say this, I am not knocking this because we're all, you know me, we're all one America. That's how I believe. I'm a Marine, so I believe in one America. But when you look at that, what you end up doing is you gave those shops what? Customers. So now the customers can go to those stores and buy what? Food, goods and services, burgers and fries, pizza, having events. But the customers that you put here in this area can go where? And buy what? Because their disposable income is a lot smaller. So by design, we have now said, listen, I've said that you are not worthy of having a luxury apartment complex. You are not worthy of getting to a point where your income levels needs to be leveled up. What I'm doing is I'm building your neighborhoods to be last year instead of tomorrow. I've got some outdated philosophies of what I think this area is. And trust me, they are outdated. Because at some point we say that it's a black community. I've got news for you. It is not. The census says one thing, but if you walk around and go to the pool and stuff like that, it is an American community. And when I say it is an American community, when you walk around Midtown, my neighbor is Polish on the right side of me. There's a German guy who lives across the street. There's an Italian guy who lives right there. I just helped my Venezuelan neighbor move. And a Jamaican guy down there tells me I bought jerk wings from the wrong place. And that's right within a block of where I live. And Ferd, you know, the German mechanic guy that works on Mercedes-Benz. And Robert works at Quick Tire, and Robert's what? Palestinian. Anwar, that's over there, where? He's what? Pasha. Pasha. You know what? You know Pasha. You see what I'm getting at? So Midtown is an American community. And by having an American community, we look for Midtown to have the same things that are being built somewhere else. If you can build luxury apartments in a low-income census tract area, you can build luxury apartments in the low-income 819, 821, because 820 kind of goes just a little bit further up. It's in an opportunity zone, but it's still considered, you see it, that's what the government says, it's a low-income area. That's what it says on the census tract. That means it's the same census tract as 819 and 821. 820 goes a little bit further because it goes a little bit further over by Cardinal Estates. That's another, I'll talk about that one later on about Cardinal Estates and how they did their areas of concern. But that's another issue. My only point is this, and I'll close with this because I see John put this thing, he's got something to say. My only point is this, and trust me, this is not the Badger, the apartment complex that's there. This is a conversation that's 11 years from now. How about that? We've got this approved. It's a great project. We've got great people, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Tolliver, and Angie has worked on this to get this thing done. But I'm asking the board, and I'm asking Daytona, and I'm asking Volusia County, all of you that are looking in the area, we want to level up too.
Absolutely.
We want luxury apartments in at least one to balance it out. So when my friends decide they're going to open up a clothing store, which I want to open a suit store next year, when I have that in our area, we have customers too. We want the same Starbucks. You've seen the Copper Tone that's on Beach Street, the coffee shop. We want them to think, guess what? Midtown is a destination too, because we've got people living in that area that can buy your goods and services. Why? Because we are an American community. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next public comment, John Nicholson.
No, I'm doing public comment on 12.
On the 12,
Okay.
item 12, okay, all right. So is there any comment to Mr. Pierre? Well, I have a comment. And maybe I see part of your vision. I see part of what you're talking about. This project is a wonderful project. I'm all for it. but I'm also all for affordable housing for people, period. We need affordable housing. It's nothing wrong with luxury apartments, but we need affordable housing for people who are displaced, who cannot afford. Everybody does not have the income or the means to afford $1,900, $2,000, $3,000 apartments. We need something for the community. It doesn't make a difference what color, because it's a lot of people, no matter race, color, or creed, that are displaced. I see it every day. Babies, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, everybody. But we all should be making a point. We want to all pull together, come together, lift together, and that's what we should do. We shouldn't just look for an affordable apartment or affordable housing. We should look for luxury as well, but we need affordable. People are homeless. They're homeless. Because you may have a home, there are a lot of people that don't. I have one, but that does not make me not want to have compassion for other people. And I'm gonna just leave it there. We're gonna move on. Sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I move approval.
I'm sorry.
I move approval.
Yes,
Eddie Lake, second the motion.
okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any like signs opposed? It passes to move forward for the rezoning, moving to the planning board and the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
And I felt your passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're moving on to line 8, staff reports. Captain Conti.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Captain Leo Conti, Daytona Beach Police Department. And these are the following stats from July 8th until August the 12th, 2024 in District 1. During this most recent crime stat reporting period, we handled 3,602 calls for service, completed 780 reports, arrested 115 felony offenders, arrested 101 misdemeanor offenders, conducted 432 traffic stops, issued 370 citations. As far as specific criminal offenses, obviously the one, the most priority is unfortunately the homicide that did occur earlier this month at 536 West ISB, which despite the circumstances, the subject was arrested. We had 17 aggravated assault investigations completed during this time frame, and the majority of them included firearms, knives, vehicles, 11 of which were cleared by arrest. We had 2 domestic violence aggravated assaults. 1 was cleared by arrest. 8 domestic simple. 3 of them were cleared by arrest. We had 7 burglary investigations, 5 of which were cleared by arrest. And Sergeant Booth also expressed some interest as far as specifics go. So for these burglaries, we did have a combination of forced entry. 2 of them broken windows. 1 was an exterior shed. 1 was an unsecured door at the Volusia Mall. And the other 2 were known subjects. 1 was a caretaker and the other one was a neighbor. We had 19 vehicle theft investigations, 5 of which were cleared by arrest. 5 recovered stolen vehicle investigations. Those remain ongoing. We had 25 car breaks and 3 weapons law violations, of which 2 were cleared by arrest. The traffic initiative for the month of August is currently Brentwood Drive between Nova Road and FEC, or the railroad tracks. And those are my stats currently for the month. But in addition to that, we had an excellent opportunity on Friday at Daisy Stocking Park, where we were able to give away 300 backpacks to many of the students living in the community. There were food and drinks provided, and there was a lot of positive interaction with several members of the police department. Currently, we are in our final operational planning stages for the August races, which will be next weekend. And we've already begun our discussions for Biketoberfest and BCU homecoming events.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Other than the homicide, how are we trending?
Summer was a little bit long. Summer was a little bit long. Unfortunately, we did have a lot of violent crime. Compared to last year, it's still less. We had more homicides at this time frame during last year, but the topic of most concern was the aggravated assaults. We did have a number of shootings. Unfortunately, the vast majority of them resulted in uncooperative victims. So despite them being a victim of a serious felony, we didn't get much cooperation, so those are ongoing. So those are going to be a little bit longer-term investigations.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? We want to thank you very much for your service.
You're very welcome.
All day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Have a good night.
Same to you.
Next up, Ms. Kirk. Code compliance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Sarah Kirk. I'm a code inspector with the city. I gave you the months June and July since I wasn't present last month. For both months, we had a total of 29 cases in the Midtown area. 20 were code cases, 4 vacant lot, 4 rental cases, and 1 was a C-click fix case that was opened. And so we're just continuing to handle complaints and as well as field investigations in the city. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, there was, if I can recall, I don't think I can recall, but there was a question regarding one particular property, and I think you, Mr. Pierre, you know where that property was, the young lady who presented last month in regards to a neglected property in the yard.
Oh, yeah.
It was a vacant lot. It was a vacant lot on South,
It's a vacant lot. I thought it was a,
what's your name of your street,
I
Pierre?
thought it was a.
Franklin?
Franklin. It was a vacant lot.
It is a vacant lot, okay.
Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm back again.
Okay.
There you go.
I know, I thought I was all spoken out, but anyway.
Not you.
Anyway, it's right down on Franklin Street. I think it's 129. It's on the south end of Mr. Mitchell. It's right before you get to Orange Avenue. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My address is probably off on that, but I know the houses that's
So
there.
it's Franklin and Orange?
Yeah,
Oh,
right
okay,
before you
and
get there.
the vacant lot
Right.
over here?
Right before the vacant lot is here. I know take up the board's time with that, but it's just down here.
I can get that for you, Ms. Kirk.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
okay.
actually
That
get
would
I
be
can
great.
get the actual one. I remember, Ms. Mitchell.
I
know where they
actually
are.
have been working Franklin Street, but a couple of houses on the other side, the
Right,
east side
Yeah.
of the street. So,
yeah. I can get the address in a minute. I know exactly where it's at.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Moving along, Redevelopment Department, Ms. Tolliver.
Madam Chair, board members, I tried diligently to put together a list of projects that have been accomplished in 2024 so far, and the list is still on my desk, but I hope to have it for you. What we do is we do a biweekly report anyway to the city manager, so it's not like I have to come up with it. I have to compile it because we're into the 8th month. And if I would have created the list from the beginning of the year up until now, it would just be a matter of sharing it with you. But I need to provide that to you next month. I'm working on getting that to you. But I wanted to also point out that the Stomp Down Step Show is this Saturday. And if any of the board members would like to attend, we do have 2 complimentary tickets. But unless you tell me you want to go, you can tell me now, or you can call me, text me, do whatever you need to do to let me know. I will need to put your name on the will call list if you want to attend this Saturday at 7 o'clock at Peabody Auditorium. But I don't have any other items to bring to you tonight. If you have any questions.
How is this being received, this event? I do know there was a bump in the road with the change of site.
Yep. From the organizer, they've gotten quite a few people to purchase tickets early, and it kind of leveled off. But he's hoping the people that bought the tickets early, because some people buy early and then they forget about the event and don't show up. But he's hoping the turnout is better than he's thinking it is, because again, people bought tickets early and then it leveled off. He's had not as many people buying tickets late than he thought he would. But he's hoping, because this will be a first event here in Daytona. We're hoping it's a good turnout.
Okay. I know in other cities it has been. I know that came up, you know. I think it had been in some Jacksonville, some other cities at some other time, and, you know,
And if you
large crowd.
And if you know of anybody who wants to attend, because we're partnering with the Stomp Down, there are some comp tickets. So if you all know someone who, in youth, it doesn't always have to be the adults. If you know some youth who want to attend, but you got to let me know early, because you can't walk up there and say, Miss Tolliver said. There's no name called Miss Tolliver said. They're going by names. So if Miss, Hardy wants 4 tickets, say 4 tickets, and you may know 2 people who want to go, they have to come with Miss Hardy, or Miss Hardy has to be there to pick up the tickets, but they're not going to have, a ticket just saying because somebody wants to come. It has to be attached to a name. So just let me know if you want to attend.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Moving forward to presentations.
One more time.
For some reason. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street, All-American Kid. Tonight, we had Mr. Jared Thompson, Madam Chair, he had to reschedule. He came, so he's going to reschedule. But what we also have is Miss, make sure I got this correct, Tonette. She actually has a business that's called Naughty Pebbles. It's a flower shop that's right next to that. When I was doing my walk around to say hello and pressing some flesh, I met her when she was there. And she can explain her bio and how she started from just her garage as a flower shop. And here she is today with a blooming business, not only just in Midtown, but on the main thoroughfare at ISB. So I commend her for the fact of taking that step forward to level up, as they say. Mr. Netton.
Hello, so my name is Tonette Kinsler, and I'm the owner of Naughty Petals on International Speedway. I've been in business about 1.5 years. I service Central Florida, Orlando areas, Daytona Beach, all the way up. I deliver flowers, ship them up to many states, Maryland, Texas. I started from my garage at home, and I'm looking for my business to grow. I'm up on 944 West International Speedway. I designed many custom florals, sympathy florals, and I just wanted to bring the love to Daytona Beach and just bring a modern flower shop to the city. So I'm here.
What is your address?
944 West International Speedway. Okay. And I do know local florists, Miss Jerry, and the florist down on Belleville, and I'm just looking to bring love to advertising.
As far as for your business, do you have cards? Or
yes, I do have cards. I'm on Facebook, Google, Instagram. Yep.
Okay. So, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Did you bring cards with you?
Yes, I brought a little, but I can bring many more.
Okay. Well,
yes. You'd like me to bring it to you? Yes. Okay. No problem. Okay. Thank you.
How long you been in business?
1.5 years. January will make 2 years.
Wow.
Out of your garage?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I started right out of my garage at home.
Excellent. Excellent.
Any other questions?
What inspired you to do that?
My mom used to plant flowers in her yard. She passed away a couple years ago, and I just wanted to carry her name on, so I have fresh floral.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's your price range on sympathy arrangements? Because a good friend of mine, Gus, was over Volusia Pond Gold. He was.
Yes, I did take flowers up to the door there.
Yeah, I want to send another arrangement, so I'll
Okay.
use
It depends on your stem size. I go from 12 to 300 stems. Yep.
All right, thank you.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to item 10, old business, we have nothing. Moving to new business. We have someone here, Christopher Williams from 386 Transform.
Good evening. My name is Chris Williams with Volusia County, and yeah, so Transform 386. That's our public branding, but we're the Office of Recovery and Resiliency. So I would.
I think we have the clicker for you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. So yes, but it's not a true PowerPoint. It's
Well, see, we have guys who know some stuff.
had to convert it to PDF. You know, one of those. All right. So I'm just giving you kind of a breakdown of the program. I think a lot of this is a rehash from when I was here back in May, at least the first half of the deck. So we offer rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reimbursement. If you don't mind, I want to give you just a little bit more detail on each of these three programs. So rehabilitation, that's your standard. You still have outstanding repairs that need to be made from the storm, and the storm being Hurricane Ian, which is we're coming on the 2-year anniversary from. And we offer up to $100,000 for rehabs for that. In the reconstruction pathway, this is you get a new home or a new MHU up to $275,000 or $200,000, depending on which home type you have, and that's if your home was substantially damaged, meaning you were over the 50% threshold of the value of your home. This is one that's been a little intimidating for our clients because they love their home, they want to die in their home. That's where their family was from, but you can get a new house. So this is one that we have a little bit of difficulty getting people to bite on because it's a big deal having your home demoed and then rebuilt. But it is an option, and the rebuilt homes are with the base flood elevation +2. So those are going to get you out of the floodplain. And then the third option, which we've had a little bit of difficulty in getting word of mouth and excitement on, is reimbursement. So this is reimbursement for repairs that you completed yourself. Initially, there was a federal deadline of May 23rd of 2024. We got that waived and extended out at least one more year. So if you're still doing repairs and you want those to get reimbursed, we can do that. So those are the three option pathways that we offer for Hurricane Ian people who are recovering. And I just figured I'd give a little bit of a recap of that because I don't think everyone quite in the public understands that. So anything you guys can do to kind of just, hey. Okay. And then again, the eligibility criteria, you have to own the home, it has to be your primary residence, and you have to be in one of those AMI categories that's less than 120% of AMI. But realistically, we want 80 and below are the target because we also have a priority system. So 1 and 2 are 30 and below, 1 being someone with a disability or an age-dependent household member, 31 to 50, that puts you in the 3 and 4. And again, you get a bump up if you have that age-dependent or disabled household member, and then up to 51 to 80. 7 and 8, we're keeping you in the pipeline, but we don't necessarily know if at the end of the day we're going to be able to serve you, and we're making that clear to people in that category. And it's funny that we talked about the AMI earlier because the Daytona, Deltona metropolitan area is the standard that HUD uses, and I know the county now that I've lived here for almost 2 years, but it's, they're different. Obviously, Daytona and Deltona are not quite the same, but it is, it does kind of work, and I think at least at the household income level, they're comparable. But it is, kind of a fictional creation of HUD in some sense. So here are these are examples of the income ranges for each level and household size. People in the category 1 and 2, the most people we see in there are people who are living off fixed incomes from Social Security or their retirement benefits, which, as you can imagine, that's a very narrow range of, you go outside of that and you don't have a whole lot much else to spend. So these are people who have their life savings in their house and they don't have the cash to fix it. So that's why they're the prime kind of category 1 and 2 people we're seeing. And this is just kind of a workflow of how this whole process works. You got the damage assessment, duplication of benefits analysis, where we kind of ask you, did you get FEMA money? Did you get NFIP money, insurance? Because we have to account for that. And then we send out, we get the damage assessment, we have a contractor kind of look at it, convert it to a scope of work. We give you an award letter. There's a contract signing. The construction starts. This isn't in the presentation officially, but I just want you all to know we are like minutes or days away from actually finishing our first construction job, which is actually an MHU replacement, so it's not all that complicated. It's you take the old one out, you put the new one in. We did have a few delays this spring in basically getting ready to go on the construction side. So we're starting this month, and this will hopefully be the beginning of a very happy construction cycle. So here's our breakdown of Daytona Beach, and the next slide is going to be kind of the same thing, but for Midtown. So total Daytona Beach, and basically we did this by area code, we have 277 cases. Of those, 158 are active, 9 are inactive, we have 106 that are closed, and then 4 that are on hold. I also have a breakdown of the closed. This is kind of an interesting area that we're navigating internally because basically after 30 days of no response, we put you in closed. But that doesn't mean you're out, that doesn't mean you're disqualified, it just means we're kind of within our system calling you closed, but you can come back in. And the reason I want to point that out is because about 66 of those 106 are people who haven't really responded to a document request, or maybe they're just kind of still on the fence as to whether they want to proceed. It's not necessarily they're disqualified, it's kind of on them to make the next move, and we put them in this category until they come back. But that it doesn't disqualify you, and we certainly want these people to come back into the program. 22 of them were deemed not eligible, and then withdrawn and duplicates. They kind of fall into the same category. Weirdly, we have a lot of like husbands and wives who like applied separately and didn't really talk to each other. So we had a bunch of cases that we kind of had to disentangle, and for various reasons, they were basically just duplicates in the end. So that's our Daytona a snapshot. I only thought about this on the way over here. Worth mentioning, we only have about 1,100 cases total in our pipeline for the whole program right now. Only about 600 of them are active. So Daytona alone is close to 50% of the overall pipeline. But I should have had those main stats. Our target for this whole program, based on our initial action plan assessment, was I think 1,150, 1,200 if we're really pushing it. So that's what we're trying to do for our housing recovery program overall. But obviously Daytona was greatly impacted, and not surprisingly, they're a big percentage of our cases. So here's a drill down into Midtown. 42 cases in Midtown, 26 of which are active, 2 inactive, 12 closed, 2 on hold. And of the 12 that were closed, only 1 was not eligible. 11 are in that pending action category where we're basically waiting on the applicant to provide documentation. And then here's a breakdown of the priority status. So the bulk of our Daytona and Midtown cases are priority 1. And then interestingly enough, you kind of see a distribution that falls on 5 being the midpoint after that. Again, priority 1 being mostly senior citizens who are on fixed income. They've met the age requirement. And then also you have families with children as well. But I would say the elderly people who are in the retirement age receiving Social Security, who own a home, that is like a main sub-demographic of our program. So that's probably why you're seeing that there. And that's basically the core of my update tonight. But if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And yes.
I have to. Sorry.
Don't apologize to me.
So you talked about the application process being extended for another year.
For reimbursements.
For reimbursement.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we approach that next year and you still don't have a lot of applicants for the reimbursements. What happens to those funds after that? And
so we have 6 years from March of this year. I don't know the exact date because we played some games with HUD, but we have 6 years to spend all of the money from March of this year. So that'll be March of 2030, and we could probably get an extension. So that we definitely are we're spending this money. I mean, if we truly get to a point where nobody wants to apply and it doesn't look like we're going to spend the money, then I guess the process would be we would have to go back to the county council and reallocate the funds to another program, but that's very unlikely to happen. This is our main flagship program, and if anything, we would take funding from other programs and put it into this one.
That was my next question. I know not just a lot of homeowners that was displaced that need home repairs and things like that, but you had a lot of renters that lost a lot of things in the process. So will there be an opportunity for renters to be able to get funding from this program at some point?
Not directly as of right now. So the only real multifamily program we have is a multifamily new construction program, which will be not dissimilar from the development that you guys discussed earlier, in that it'll have, I think actually the intention of that program is to be all affordable housing, but it's all set by the HUD home program and what the affordable rates are. So we'll create new affordable housing, but we don't have a program that provides assistance to renters.
And my last question, I'm so sorry.
Actually, let me caveat that. We have a program, kind of a small program for people who own homes that they rent out. So it's really an assistance to the landlord. It's not to the renters, but we do have in Volusia County people who have, second homes for like college students and things that they rent out and they can't afford to keep up the repairs. So we want to help their housing stock as well. So that's a smaller program. We haven't had a lot of interest in it so far, but it is out there.
And my last question, I know there's a lot of empty apartments that's sitting vacant right now in the Midtown area due to flooding that happened with one of the hurricanes a couple of years ago. How much of the funding is going to the housing authorities to help either repair or do something with those apartments so they're livable at some point?
So the way our assistance for that is, because our multifamily program is primarily, it's just new construction, to the extent that we are helping public housing, it's through the infrastructure and mitigation program, which I don't have a complete update for you right now, but it's we have $50 million allocated for infrastructure plus 42 for mitigation. If you lump those two, it's a $92 million program max. But the way we've set it up is we basically made a competitive application program for municipalities and nonprofits, including public housing authorities, to get funds for things like retention ponds, sewer and stormwater drainage. So there's going to be projects. There's almost certainly going to be projects. I can't say yet because they haven't been, they have to be basically vetted for eligibility, and then they have to go for the county council for approval. But some of those projects will go towards infrastructure that helps public housing. But they're not going to be direct grants for the public housing authorities themselves.
So how will the renter, it sounds like it makes the process hard though for.
So truly, we don't have right now a direct assistance program for renters. We could theoretically create one, but we didn't get a lot of data to necessarily support that as being a prime candidacy for a main program, but it is certainly something that could be done in the future with county council approval.
So it would take us going to the county council and petitioning and voicing our opinions on it happening in order for it to happen.
Basically, yes. There's other limits with eligibility for HUD disaster recovery on renter programs. They typically time out after like 2 years after the storm. So there's a lot of like temporary housing programs, but they're not really longer term in their vision. And because it kind of took a long time to get approval from HUD to get our program going, we didn't think that there would be as many people still in that category. So that was kind of the thinking behind that. It was considered, but we ended up going with single-family homeowner and then multifamily new construction.
Thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
For you. What are you doing as far as continuing to educate people about Transform 386? I know in the fall, there were a series of different workshops, and here recently I began to hear about small groups that you were doing, and unfortunately I wasn't here in May when you came, but I know that there was kind of a lull in the time that you heard about what was happening, and there were people questioning what was actually going on.
Yeah, this is something we're still working on, so we're open to suggestions. We spent most of the spring and first half of the summer going out to the libraries and holding just kind of question and answer sessions. We did a lot of the housing fairs in the spring. There was some in Deltona and here in Daytona, where we sent somebody with, kind of set up a booth and answer questions. But I think going forward, we're going to be relying on a combination of word of mouth and then mailings. We're doing lots of postcard mailings. We're going to be doing, as we start doing construction, we'll put signs on people's front yards to kind of, say, hey, this is a real thing that you could do if you want. So that's kind of our next phase, but we're still open to suggestions because
the reason I brought it up was I know in our area here, and especially Midtown, that question did come up. I think some people needed a little bit more clarification as to whether or not they fit certain things that were listed, as far as the income, the AMI and all of that. And so I know that question came up frequently early last fall. And so I think most recently myself, someone that was connected with your organization, maybe a month ago, a friend of mine that is doing something with it began to say they were trying to recruit again. And I was wondering, especially because a lot of people, sometimes with mail, sometimes people get so much of that they don't quite adequately read everything or don't check it every day and those kinds of things. And so I was just thinking, even a social media presence or something that could educate or going to churches or going to schools or something like that.
And we did a mix of those things. I don't know if we're still doing them, but I will definitely make the push to keep doing that. We lost one of our main guys who was like taking the lead on that stuff.
But thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have several questions. So, you said rehab, reconstruction, and reimbursement.
Yes.
So how do you know where you fall? Do the application that was submitted online, does it go through all three of these, or do you have to pick which one you want to apply for?
A little bit of all of the above. So it's kind of like one of those like horrible grade school like option matrix problems where it's like, Timmy can't go to sports on Tuesday, and you have to like kind of break down to kind of get the precise pathway. So basically, it's a function of the housing type you have, the damage that you repaired, the outstanding damage, and then what you think is most appropriate for your home. So there's a few factors. Generally, the easiest one to determine is the MHU, the mobile home replacement, because mobile homes, anything prior than 1994, the resale value is really, really low. So if your damage is even like over 10 grand, it just makes it's more cost effective to replace it. So that's the easiest one to figure out in practice because you can determine that pretty quickly. But then you do have a lot of back and forth between, for example, for the reconstruction, if your house is like at 45% damage, technically you're not at that substantial damage threshold. But if there's even one change order in a rehab project, you're going to tip over. And we have to make that clear to our clients that, hey, there's like a very, very good chance that this is going to tip over to reconstruction. And you have to be aware of that. So it's a little tricky. We lay out all the facts to each of our clients and basically give them the information that they need to know to make a best, assessment for what is good for them. But it's not always easy to tell up front.
Okay, so I'm one of the clients, and I'm probably the one that's number 2 on hold.
Ask me whatever you got.
We have been trying forever and a day. We have had damage, and the funds have been available, but they have not been available for us. So when I put in this application, they told me I was in the last. I'm in the last one. Okay, so now you say you're not gonna be able to help me. Yeah, I heard you. Now, again, I have emails from Maria Torres, and then I went past her, and then I went to Courtney, or whatever this lady's name is. What's her name? Courtney Fletcher. She sent me to SB something. She told me, withdraw from this, go over here, see if they can help you because they're faster. So it's a group of people that's doing the reconstruction or whatever you need to have done, because this program is going to take a long time. She said it. And she said, go over here, see if you qualify for that. But what it is, you have to withdraw from this. And I told her, nope, don't withdraw me. Let me go over here. I want to see what they said. They said, I don't qualify for that. But this is over here, this program is you got to get a loan. So when you get a loan, you're responsible for that loan. Then you got to come back over here and get the money from you guys to pay off the loan. This is musical chairs, musical money, you're shuffling around. But nobody is getting any funding. Nobody is getting any help. Nobody is getting anything. We don't know where the money is. We don't know what's going on. And it's a long process. It shouldn't be this. And we're already, how long since Ian? And we're already in the middle of, hurricane season. So my house flooded. I had a big crack in the foundation of the room it flooded in. Nobody ever came out. Nobody ever did anything. I waited. I think it's been 2 weeks. I had to have somebody to just put something in the crack and put something back down on the floor, because I've been sleeping in a makeshift area for 2 years. But they sent me an email the other day, Maria Torres. We just wanted to let you know, if you're still interested in the program, you're still on the list. And I'm thinking, where's the money? Where's the funds? Nobody has come out. Nobody has said anything. I got emails from people. I don't even know.
All right, well, let me try to address each point in turn. In general, you're 100% correct. This program has taken longer than I thought it would when I first joined the team to get going. And part of that was on us, part of that was on the federal government, and part of it was just on kind of flukes that nobody could have predicted. We were like this close to starting to get the money out the door in March and April, and then we installed a new case management system that just was a nightmare and required us to learn everything and do everything again. And now we're kind of only back at where we should have been in the spring. So that is on us, and I'm not going to deny it. As far as your particular project, have they done a damage assessment?
No, they've done nothing. And I don't even know if the damage assessment would work or the reimbursement, because I wanted the money back for my roof, but I haven't gotten anything. If you could help me with the floor, I'd have took that. Anything, nothing has come. Nobody has come. And I've spoken to numerous people, and even when, what's his name? Charles?
Yes, Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. Chuck came from DCF. That's where I work at. Me and Chuck sat next side
And
to side.
he's back at DCF.
Oh, I know. He came back to DCF. So he is not even a person that you could talk to. We didn't even know who you could talk to. You can never get anybody.
Well, really, your case manager is the person that you have to talk to on a day-to-day basis, for better or worse. Most of them are doing a good job, or trying. But certainly you can call me and Donna if you'd like. We can give you our number. But I actually am a little surprised to hear that they recommended you go to SBP.
That's what she said, and I went to them, but she told me I had to withdraw from this. I said, no, I don't want to withdraw because I don't want to lose my space in line. Let me see. And she said, I'm going to talk to my supervisor. I'm going to see if you qualify, and you're going to go over there. But they sent me an email back and said I didn't qualify for that. I didn't like the idea that you got to go get a loan. They wanted you to go to these people, get a loan from these people, and then come back to us and we'll reimburse you for that. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Well, so there's pluses and minuses to that program. initially envisioned it, and we also thought that we weren't sure we were going to get the waiver extension for the reimbursement deadline being pushed out. So we wanted to get as many people to get work done that needed to get done, even if we couldn't finance it, and then we could, once you got the work done, if it was eligible, we could reimburse it. So that was kind of the thinking there, but
If the person wasn't eligible, then the person's going to be responsible for that loan.
well, but that's why we do the eligibility check and review first, because we want it to be like a zero risk scenario. So it seemed a little off in the timing to me. I would have waited on making that recommendation if it were me. But maybe, I mean, without looking at your case, I can't say one way or another. I should say about the category 7 and 8s, it's not that we don't, I can't say one way or another if those people in those tiers are going to be served. It's that we're not going to know until we serve priorities 1 through 6 first.
So that's my question. So if you have 40-something applications, or you have however many people, and you broke it down to the categories. So if somebody else is coming into the program a year later, and they fall into category 2, then they're coming before me, even though I've been sitting here waiting a year, and you went through category 1, category 2, category 3, I'm on 7 or 8, then that means I'll never get anything. Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a cutoff point where we stop taking applications. So it will eventually be known, but we are still have so few applications relative to what we thought we would by now that we're not at
and
that
I
point.
think that the reason why you have so few applications is because this program has taken so extremely long, and people have to get back to life. And when you don't have it and stuff, and that was the thing with me, I waited almost literally 2 years, and I kept walking past this big crack in my foundation, and I couldn't get any help, and it's just shuffled around, and I got frustrated. So I said, okay, just send somebody. You know, we got somebody, he put some stuff in it, and I know it's not gonna work, but it is what it is. I gotta get back in my room. People have to get back to life, but these funds have been sitting there. These funds are not going anywhere, or they're not coming to this community that actually needed it. Okay.
Get a phone number, girl.
Well, yes.
Need the card too.
I mean, it is starting. It's trickling out the faucet right now, but it soon will be a fire hydrant, hopefully.
That's probably why the
Can I ask a
presentation's froze up.
Does the media know this?
We get a lot of heat. Maybe we could get more. Maybe we deserve more. We are hitting that 2-year anniversary, and we're very aware of that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There was an article in News Journal maybe 2 weeks ago. There was an elderly male who lives in a condominium association, and he doesn't qualify. I forget the reason why, but he's of age, and he even has some health complications as a result of the mole. But he was complaining because he didn't qualify, and it had something to do with the condominium association where he lived. But media attention, but not rampant media attention. And I think not to defend the county's program, but we here at the city, we have had to implement a response to a natural disaster, Hurricane Ian and then Hurricane Nicole. Right. And I'm not tooting horns or putting anybody down, but when you have had to respond to natural disasters on a regular basis, not on the level that the county is doing, you kind of become familiar with, you anticipate that people who are responding to a crisis in their life don't have a lot of time to wait. And I think it's prudent upon government to do what they can. I think this board, as well as staff, has to communicate to our commissioners and our city manager that the way the program is working for the county is not working for the city.
Yeah.
And it's not a complaint to the parameters that Mr. Williams is working under. It's not working based on what the county council has approved. And it's a serious matter. You're dealing, I cringe every time it rains, and I'm gonna shut up, but I cringe every time it rains. I didn't flood. I live in an apartment on a second level, so I don't deal with the inconvenience, but I can just imagine the trauma when it rains. And then if there is a storm brewing now and they say it's gonna curve off to the east, it's not gonna come. The people who've gone through that year after year, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that it's going to curve off, because the trauma of it coming, it's not going to go away. But something needs to change in the way that the program is being implemented, because it's not serving the people who need it the most, and it's not your problem, it's the county council's problem.
Well, the reason why I said that, I know they deal in data and measurables. And at some point, somebody has to mine that data and read it and say, okay, we are not reaching our outcomes. And it cannot fall on the back of the citizens who are complaining and saying, okay, we are applying, or maybe they're so frustrated that they don't apply.
Yeah.
And you got to stand up here and explain, and we're not beating you up by no stretch, you know. But at some point, these are federal dollars that are flowing down to provide a need, and the need is not being met. And it's a bureaucratic need. It's a bureaucratic problem that is stifling the needs being met at this level.
And I'm just gonna put this out there. Word of mouth, especially if it's negative word of mouth, will go a whole lot further than positive. So if you've got more than one situation like Ms. Richards, then that's gonna be a greater impact than.
You got the chairman of the Midtown Redevelopment Board that is giving some personal, factual data.
No, understood, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation. I don't want to interrupt.
No.
They mine too. I'm already one. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
No,
But I just, yeah?
Yes, yes.
I'm in the Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street, and me and the chair have talked at length on this too. I'm in the same situation. My house had a house that it didn't flood out to the point of where some of the low income, but the foundation shifted. And when it shifted, there's cracks all over now. And the insurance company doesn't cover that. I put in for it at the beginning of it. They won't cover that. And I mentioned that, talked to them about that. So now back room's all, in other words, you walk in the house, it looks like it's warped a little bit. Good thing I can balance it out like that, but the house is, but it's warped now. You can see the floors and all that. I talked to them about that. And I've talked about, now, speaking of Maria Edwards is the one that I've been working with. I know the other lady, but she's been very helppul. But you know how it is, you're only helpful to a point.
Right.
If it's still stuck and bottlenecked somewhere else, you can't blame the, I wouldn't say young lady, she might be an older lady, but the lady that is handling business, because she's doing what she can. But I mentioned it to her, and I mentioned it to Commissioner Paris because she sent me an email. And on the email, she said, can you get the word out, Pierre, let people know to put in for the applications? I said, of course. But just as the chair mentioned, I said, I can, but a number of people are very disgruntled. They say, oh, yeah, Pierre, I don't want to hear about that again. Because these, in other words, the bottom line is they'll say, some people ain't doing nothing. That's from the streets. And, you know, people can get that way about a lot of times because we know government moves slow. But this process, right, and they'll say, well, you can call this other number here. Again, like you said, we're not beating you up at all. You can call this other number here, you can address this, but at the end of the day, when you're sitting in your house and even little rain that just came here, you're wondering, okay, is that thing gonna fall? Now you can see that crack that's been there for a long period of time. And we're wondering in there, okay, when? That's the answer. We've had all this, we've had the numbers, they've machined the data, they've mined the data. So our basic question is, when? That's what we'd like to know. No, they haven't even been there. I haven't had anybody do a damage assessment. I can tell you now, the damage says it's broke. That's the assessment. And that's in the marine term. It's broke. It's broke. The house broke. Right. That's, nobody's done a damage assessment or LO assessment or Zoom grill assessment or nothing.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't make light of it. I don't make light of it, but
No, I
honestly,
understand.
it's in the same situation. People have talked on the phone. I've got a prodigious amount of emails, and in that amount of email, there's no thing called a solution. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. There is no solution that's in there. Nobody's done a damage assessment. You can walk in my house and look. There's a damage assessment, but either way. And I'm just a small portion, I'm sure, a number of different citizens in the Midtown, Americans in the Midtown areas probably would like to know when.
Yeah.
Would like to know
And
when.
this is good, so that you get the feedback, so you know where the bottleneck is.
Yeah, we've got real numbers and real emails to address it. This isn't just some flight I'm throwing off the top of my head. No, and we, myself and the chair, talked on this.
And in that case.
Outside of affordable housing
in that case,
conversations.
the Presentation needs to.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're here. I appreciate the fact that you're here.
Instead of, yeah.
Well, look,
Thank you.
you're all allowed to beat me up. That is why I'm here.
I had support.
No, we appreciate your.
We could do a better job. We made mistakes and we are working on fixing them. It is kind of a weird position to be in. We're kind of at the center of a three-ring circus between the county council, HUD, and a bunch of contractors who are trying to screw us over at every turn, and we're trying to keep them at bay because to maximize output to the people, we have to kind of keep a tight leash on people. So the extent that the damage assessments are taking forever because a lot of these guys are from the insurance world. They're doing a totally different thing, and we need to get a house that was fixed by a storm. We're not looking to do a one-for-one replacement of everything. We're looking to fix what was damaged by the storm. So it's a slightly different type of damage assessment, and we've had to essentially retrain these people who, I mean, yeah, they responded to the public bid process and they impressed us and we checked all the boxes, but they still require a lot of coaching. So that process has been slow. And then essentially getting that approved and then to the next level, all of it is just taking a little bit longer than we initially thought. But we are working through the bottlenecks, we're troubleshooting, and I think it is safe to say that by this fall, we will get into a steady state and we'll get this locomotive running.
My concern is, and I don't mean to interrupt you, is that what if, say like this chairwoman, what if another major one comes by and hits her? God forbid. You know, you're just exacerbating the problem without any relief.
There's always that potential. And we are aware of that. But have to work through the system we got, and we're going to try things differently. We're going to do what we can to make it work. Have to give it a chance to fail on its own, and we're still too early in the program to totally read.
Okay.
You said fail on its own?
Madam Chair.
To succeed or fail on its own, not necessarily to
Sound like
fail.
that's happening.
Sorry, that's
But listen, have you guys had an opportunity to add people to the mix? Could you add the city to the mix? Could you add staff?
So we are opening a branch here in Daytona. I don't know the precise location, but at least 3 of our people will be here at all times, I believe. We'll have a case management supervisor and then 2 of the project coordinators, which is our fancy term for case manager here in Daytona.
Okay.
All right. Madam Chair, that's good news if that happens. We haven't heard, we're not aware of that. But if you remember the previous chairperson,
Yes.
Mr. Collins, he was very adamant about becoming a partner with this program. And so on behalf of this board, he sent a letter to the county before the plan was even put together, offering the city services to be part of the program so that we could help administer the program here locally. Now, I'll let you know that the offer still stands, but we can certainly serve our community because we know our residents. And we were, as Michelle mentioned earlier, back in 2022, we spent close to $2 million with a small staff, of course, and not as big as what the county is dealing with, but we were certainly able to get the money spent because we know where the people were.
Yeah. Well, that is a wonderful recommendation that we could do that again. We need to do something that's a little different. We need the city to be involved. We need the city and the staff to know what's going on so that the community will be able to know what's going on. You know, it's okay to have the county council, but we still need the city to partner together so that we can figure out how to get the money to the community, because that's what we need it. We need the money to the community. So,
Understood.
Well said.
okay.
Absolutely.
Any other
No, thank you.
questions?
We'd
Yes,
love to
thank
get your card.
Oh, yeah.
Reach out
Yes.
to you ASAP tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we do that.
Moving to line 12, public comments.
Yes, thank you again.
Mr. John
Thank you.
Nicholson.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nicholson. Okay.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. It's a pet peeve of mine. I saw this, and I saw the location, all right? Several years ago, a relative of Mary McLeod Bethune came to me, and she wanted to put on a festival on the beachside at the Peabody. And my question is, why? And she says, well, that's where all the festivals are. And then Percy Williams wanted to have one on Martin Luther King. And Dad said, no, you can't because it's too spread out and blah, 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 blah. And he dropped it. All right? Now, the mayor and I have been disagreeing because he's been working for 12 years on affordable housing and he hasn't started yet. He hasn't determined what's affordable housing. His first affordable housing was $500,000 houses. 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, 3-car garages. That's not affordable housing to me. That's not where the need is. So he did an exit study. And guess what? They didn't even ask where the need was. We don't know whether it's senior citizens. We have a ton of those. Didn't ask whether it was single mothers, because a woman came up to me and she said, the realtor. And she says, I can't find houses or apartments for single women with children. Well, to me, that's a need. It may even out-prioritize senior citizens, all right? So when I see this, and it's in Peabody, how does it help Midtown? Because what my conversation with Percy was, it's fantastic. We have 9 major events on Beachside and 0 events, basically large events of 100,000 people. You don't have any in Midtown. So what he was proposing would be fantastic for Midtown, all right? What this woman was proposing for Midtown was great, all right? We have, and most people don't realize it, a philosopher, which I got when I was a kid, who influenced not only Martin Luther King, but Mahatma Gandhi. He grew up here in town. We have his house. And nobody ever talks about him, all right? There was a woman, they have a festival out, I don't know the name of the city, just on the other side of Orlando. Neil Hurston?
Zora Neale Hurston,
Okay.
Eatonville, Florida.
All right. Did you realize that she lived here in town?
Yes.
Yep. And nobody's ever mentioned it. I've been here 40 years.
Yeah, she was at Bethune.
Right.
Right.
And to me, she was here longer than Jackie Robinson. All right? And it's never mentioned. So we have this opportunity, and now we're having an opportunity, and again, we put it outside of the community. So how does that help the businesses here? Because when we do events on the beachside, our restaurants gain, our hotels gain, our shops gain for people stop and shop. So logically, if you did anything here in Midtown, your stores would gain, your restaurants would gain, all right? So I'm thinking, is there any way when this stuff comes before you and if they ask you for funding, that you could have it here? Because you have a auditorium right on ISB that is as good as and almost as large as Peabody. And believe it or not, our senior citizens are not going to be going to this. 65 to 85-year-olds is not on the top of their list. right next to your auditorium is Bethune-Cookman College.
Yeah.
They might want to go to this. So logically, you put it where people are. So I'm asking you, when people come up with these ideas to help you guys, ask them to help the community first, rather than shipping it over outside of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment regarding this. When I saw it, I went, oh, it's been moved, because this was brought to us earlier, and it was supposed to have been held at the Performing Arts Center on campus of Bethune-Cookman. And I'm sitting here all night waiting for an opportunity to ask, what happened?
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Several months ago, when Ms. Bonner and Ms. Hardy brought it to our attention that they saw on social media that the event was planned for Seabreeze High School, Ken and I got on the phone with the organizer who came to the Midtown meeting and asked for funding, and he stated to us, and I'm going to say it as professional as I can, the Performing Arts Center at Bethune-Cookman was not able to work them into their schedule.
What?
Any more details off the record, I will be more than glad to discuss. But they tried to, they wanted to, and it did not happen at the Performing Arts Center. But just like Grandma them say, don't air our dirty laundry. Let's talk about this at another time, okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, we need you off record. Next, Mr. Pierre Lewis, again.
I'm like a springboard. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. It was a pleasure. I think the meeting was very effective on a number of key areas, a number of key points. I learned a lot, and I was glad to see the meeting went the way it went. I believe that it's the Howard Thurman home.
Yes, it is.
Talking
Yes,
about.
On
That's the
Whitehall.
one that's on that just if you're wondering, those are that's Howard Thurman. It's on the African American Trail, the one that's over there off of that street. The other point I just wanted to make is that understanding that the term of affordable housing means a number of different things depending on the areas that they are. So just because someone throws out the term affordable housing, it's based upon the per capita that's in that area. So affordable housing in, say, Daytona Beach Shores could be different than affordable housing that's there. It's not always says that it's going to be poor people that's in that area. It's based upon that. So I want us to, the onus is upon us that if obviously we had different industries that were associated around in our particular area, and people had other jobs, then the median income would probably be different, and affordable housing would be there. But the ones that we have, we know that are subsidized, that are right closely within the Midtown area, Midtown area is like 4.7 miles, I think, when I jogged at one time when I was younger, first retired. And I think it's 10 of them. There's 10 of them right there. No other area in that area in Daytona Beach has that many affordable housing, mixed income, low income in one area. That's my point. In our area, it's stuck right in one place. It's 4.7 areas, you got 10 of them. You got Lakeside, you got Soul City, it's not subsidized. You got Caroline Village, you got Palmetto Park, you got Pine Haven, you got the Villages of Halifax 1, the Villages of Halifax 2. You got Walnut Oak that's there. It's there, and then you've got one that's over by Friendship. They own the one that's there. That's a subsidized place. And there's one by David's Temples. So that's 10. Nobody else has that right sandwiched into one area. That's my only point. The only point is that, yes, it's needed. But if we're one Daytona, shouldn't all of Daytona share a little bit of it? If you've got a little bit in this area, you've got a little bit in this area, you've got this, because I was in public housing. I was the CEO for a little while, Neighborhood Networks, and also with the Daytona Beach Housing Development Corporation. And one of the things as they moved away from the HUD dynamics and the public housing, one of the things they found to be most effective is what we've been talking about today. And that's mixed income. Mixed income has been the plan of success. So extrapolating it a little bit further out, mixed income, mixed neighborhoods. So if you've got, that's my only problem. That's why I mentioned that. Not to say you'd want a whole bunch of other different cultural people, dynamics, money into that area, but it would balance it out somehow. to say, if affordable housing really is that big that it has to be affordable housing, then I would think that, I remember when the mayor was talking about it, not a pin, I said, if it's really that big, then you would have told a luxury place to say, no, you can't build it here. Because our goal is affordable housing. But that's not what they did. Changed it around. They said, okay, you can still have that here. I'm just saying it should be a balanced approach. Somehow or another. And not have just 10 sandwiched into one in a I think it's 4.7 miles area. That's my only point. Don't have it all in there. Put some here, put some here, put some here, put some in the beach side, put it in these places like that. Spread it out because, as you said, poor people need to live. I even use the term poor, but you know what I'm saying as far as the money is concerned. All of Daytona should spread the wealth. Should be out west. Should be near LPJ. Should be near Margaritaville. But put out there? Oh no, believe me. That's another question. I won't go there. Those are my only closing comments. And I wanted to close this. I always enjoy the meeting. You got to deal with ones you agree with and don't agree with it. Yes, but that's the beauty of America. That's why I love it. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we are at the end. Any board comments? Have we said everything that we needed to say? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.